My perfect daughter cut contact with me 4 years ago because I dated and married her best friend. 2 days ago, she texted to meet up and left me heartbroken. I was only 21 when I had my daughter and her mother passed away 2 years later, so it was just me and her against the world. She was my main source of joy, and I did my best to raise her. The problem here starts with my dating life. I haven't been very lucky in that department, and I haven't been able to give my daughter a permanent mother figure. I only ever had some random hookups here and there in very short-term relationships throughout my daughter's childhood. Things changed when my daughter got to her senior year of high school and she brought Millie home. Millie is her only friend at school and she seems like a really sweet girl. She was at our house every other weekend and I really liked Millie as a person, so I never minded her coming over that much. We had nice, short conversations, and we exchanged numbers just in case an emergency came up with my daughter. She would send me messages and jokes once in a while, and I would respond back. My daughter didn't mind at all. After 4 months of consistently seeing Millie, she texted me that she wanted to meet up for coffee out of nowhere. I thought it was something urgent or something about my daughter, and she only responded by saying it's something important. I was curious, so I met up with her. When I arrived, she looked very nervous. I got right to the point and asked what was going on. She told me I can't tell my daughter about it, and I was very confused. She then confessed to me that she was developing feelings for me. I was taken aback. I told her that while I was flattered, I had to think about my daughter, and I know she wouldn't like that. She pleaded with me to just give her a chance. It was so long that I found somebody interested in me like that, and I just couldn't refuse. Millie was already 18 when she was introduced to me, and she was a very beautiful woman. I said yes, but with the condition that it would be only casual dating, and my daughter doesn't have to know about it. We met up the next week at her place, and I had told my daughter that I was going out with friends. It was our very first date and an hour in. We slept with each other. Our meetings were very frequent, and our relationship grew stronger. The more time I spent with her, the more I loved her. She was such a wonderful person, and it was so easy to talk to her. Eventually, Millie became my main source of joy. I always wanted to be with Millie, and I looked forward to seeing her at my house every weekend. I was always waiting for the weekend so that it became hard for me to pay attention to anything else in my life. I had forgotten about my relationship with my daughter. I never ate dinner with her because I would be on dates with Millie. I was keeping so many secrets from her, and we never spent any time together anymore. I was just never around for her anymore, and I had so many excuses as to why I wasn't around anymore. I missed out on her dance classes, and I think I really messed up when I missed her birthday dinner because I was with Millie. I told her that work held me up. We had managed to keep the secret until the week before my daughter's flight to college. Millie texted me that my daughter found out about us. I was in the middle of work when I got it, and I was shaking. I was terrified to go back home. I knew I was effed. I got home before my daughter, and I was just pacing back and forth wondering how she would confront me on this, how I would apologize, and how I could explain the whole situation to her. But when she came home, she never said anything about the situation. She just pretended that nothing ever happened. She became distant with me though, so I know she was really affected by the situation. She was very cold towards me, never looked me in the eye, and only ever gave me one-word responses. It hurt more because this was our final week to be together before she left for college. I barely ever saw her during that time. When it came to dropping her off, she didn't give me a hug, look at me, or respond to my I love you. I had lost my daughter because of my relationship with Millie. When I drove back home, Millie's car was in my driveway. It was the first time I saw her ever since I got that text from her. I saw she had a black eye and a broken nose when she stepped out of her car. I knew my daughter had done that to her, and there was nothing I could do but hug Millie and cry in her arms. I told her how bad I felt about what I did to my daughter, but the worst part was that I was relieved she was gone instead of being sad. Millie insisted on staying the night, and she helped me as I cried. The next day, I proposed to her. There was no way she could say no. 4 years later, we had a daughter together, and we made a life for ourselves. However, the last time I ever saw my daughter was at the airport. She blocked me on everything and basically disappeared from my life. She stayed with her grandparents who were pissed at me in the situation I put my daughter through. They asked me to never contact her ever again. I had almost made my peace with it. I did miss my daughter, but there was nothing I could do to get her back. I didn't have any way of contacting her since her grandparents also blocked me and no one ever spoke to me about her. That was until 2 days ago when my daughter called me telling me she's going to be in town and wants to meet with me. I could tell she had matured since the last time I saw her, and she was barely recognizable when I met her at a local coffee shop. I was terrified of talking to her, and part of me really wanted to leave. The other part wanted to tackle her with a hug and beg for forgiveness. I sat down in front of her and tried to initiate casual conversation before apologizing profusely to her. But she interrupted me by saying, "Before you apologize,